Regina and Claire went to a shopping mall on the weekend to buy some clothes. Regina saw an escalator going down with a big banner that said "Huge Sale! Everything 99% off." Of course, they hurried there. Who wouldn't? But as soon as they headed there, everything faded out. The mall and the part of the escalator behind them vanished. It got all dark, and they had no other option but to go where the escalator would take them. They arrived at a place where they couldn't see anything. Regina yelled for help. Suddenly, 3 signs appeared in front of them. The first one said, "This leads to a sea filled with flesh-eating mutant sharks." The second went, "This leads to a forest with brain-sucking zombie mosquitoes." And the third one said, "This leads to a cave covered with sharp rocks and bats with giant claws." Which one should they choose? Well, bats are harmless until provoked, whether they have small or big claws, so they should choose the third one. And as for the sharp rocks, they just need to watch their steps. They started walking in the direction of the cave when suddenly a peculiar tiny monster cut their way. "Welcome to the underworld, home of all monsters. We hope you enjoy your stay. Even if you don't, you can't ever leave here anyway." And it vanished out of sight. That's when a scary-looking city started to appear around them. "What does it mean that we can't leave?" Claire asked. "There must be someone who can help us," Regina replied. "Psst, over here," a creepy monster said from the corner of the street. "Crack my riddle and I'll tell you who can help you. What goes around the house and into the house without ever touching the house?" It's the sun. So, if you want to see it again, go to the restaurant called Cantina Hella and find the only human there. He might help you. And the monster left. Regina and Claire found it, but a bodyguard stopped them at the entrance. "Password?" "We don't have it," Regina said. The bodyguard handed them a piece of paper with these numbers on it. The number that comes next is the password. Can you figure it out? Every next number is made by moving the first digit of the previous one to the end. So the password is 1793. Regina and Claire walked in. The place was super crowded with human-looking monsters everywhere. It seemed impossible to spot the only real human in there. Can you see him? Well, the others may look human, but if you take a closer look, you can see their tails, fangs, horns, and all that. But this guy here doesn't have any of that. So he must be who they're looking for. Regina and Claire approached the man. His name was Eddie. They told him all about what they'd been through. He said, "I know how you can get back. I do travel to Earth and back here all the time. I'll help you. Meet me here in an hour." Then he gave them his card and left. On it, there was strange writing. Can you decipher it? You need to replace all the letters with the previous letter that comes before them in the alphabet. So it says police station. Regina and Claire got hungry, so they decided to order something to eat. The waiter brought them 3 different desserts. Which one should they choose? Did you notice that the eyes on the first one are actually blinking? I wouldn't eat that. And the teeth inside the second one are real. Well, that's creepy. But the worms inside the third one are just gummy worms, and what looks like dirt is actually chocolate crumble. So they should definitely eat this one. Let's dive right in, shall we? Jane, Emma, and Carla are working out in a gym. One of them isn't being careful enough. Who is it? It's Carla. Look, she's doing exercises while chewing gum. She could accidentally choke on it. Look at Matt and Olivia. They're both cooking dinner. Matt is using a stove and Olivia is using a grill outside. Which of them is doing something wrong? It's Matt. He forgot to turn the stove on. Noor was a married man, and his wife had a twin sister. One day, the twins decided to trick him. They both pretended to be his wife to see if he'd find the right person. Unfortunately, Noor got way too confused. Can you find his real wife? Look at the wedding picture of Noor and his wife. She has a tattoo on her right arm, so his wife must be the woman on the left who also has a tattoo on her right arm. Willem and Sean were caught by the police close to the graffiti that had just appeared on a building. One of them painted it, but both denied doing anything. Who do you think is lying? It was Willem. Look, there's some paint on her hands and shirt. Drake and Thor are both on vacation. Drake is skiing in the mountains with his girlfriend, and Thor is surfing with his best friend. Look at them now. Which one of them is in danger? Drake. He's screaming in the mountains. It's not safe because it can cause an avalanche. Now, let's find some pet owners. For example, look at these three girls. Can you figure out who the cat belongs to? Its owner is the girl on the right. Look at her legs and hands. She has some scratches, very typical for cat owners. Now, there are three people sitting in the park. See that dog playing there? Who does it belong to? To the guy in the middle. Look, he has a leash. These guys, Ian, Noah, and Luke, are basketball players. They're getting ready for the game in the changing room. Which of them is Noah? It must be this guy, the one who's not wearing shoes. Look, his shoes are in the locker with the name tag Noah. Esme was walking in the forest and got lost. She had been wandering for hours until she came across a witch's house. The witch was busy with a new spell and had a riddle for Esme. If the girl managed to solve it, the witch would let her go. If Esme failed, she'd have to stay with the witch forever. So the witch had 6 test tubes. The first 3 were empty and the last 3 were full. For the spell, full and empty tubes had to alternate. Esme had to solve this problem, but she could only touch one tube. How can she do it? Esme should take the 5th tube and pour the liquid from it into the second one. A bank was robbed on a Friday evening. There were no customers and no signs of a break-in, which meant it was one of the bank employees. The robbery was discovered by the bank director, Mr. Perry. There were 3 main suspects, Miss Cott, Mr. Mendez, and Miss Morgan. All of them denied being anywhere close to the safe, but one of them lied. Who was it? Pay attention to the footprints. These must belong to Mr. Perry, but there's another pair which must be heels. Mr. Mendez is wearing sneakers and Miss Morgan is wearing flats. Miss Cott is the only one wearing heels. The footprints are likely to be hers, so she lied. Mrs. Nichols has 4 daughters and a son. The oldest daughter's name is April. She's an artist. The second daughter is December. She's into sports. Her third daughter is August, and she's keen on cooking. May is the fourth one, and she likes reading. Their brother Adam is the youngest in the family. How is his name connected to his sisters? The first letters of the girls' names make up the name Adam. Another family riddle for you. Ava is Bella's sister, Bella is Ella's sister, and Ella is Ruby's mother. Who is Ruby for Ava? If Ava is Bella's sister and Bella is Ella's sister, it seems like the three of them are sisters. Since Ruby is Ella's daughter, then both Ava and Bella are Ruby's aunts. So Ruby is Ava's niece. Take a look at these friends at the beach. Which of them is a robot? It must be this girl. Look, it's very hot outside and everyone is sweating, except her. That's kind of odd. The police also broke into 3 apartments. In one of them, a robot lives. Can you guess where? Look, there's a lot of machine oil in the bathroom. I'll bet it belongs to the robot. What about this photo? Can you spot a robot here? It's summer and everyone is wearing shorts and tops, except for this guy. He's wearing long pants, a long-sleeve shirt, and even gloves. He must be hiding his body. I'd say it's him. Here's a photo of people sitting in a cafe. Can you spot a robot here? It must be this lady, since she's not drinking or eating anything. Guess why? Well, robots can't eat human food, obviously. Another peek into some people's houses. One room belongs to a robot, but which one? It must be this one. Look, there's a whole bunch of bolts and spare parts in the wardrobe. Have a look at this group of friends. Can you tell which of them is a robot? It must be this guy. There's some steam and sparks coming from it. Perhaps it's a robot that needs some renovations. Aiko has won a game show, and she can finally get her prize. But there's a catch, one last task. There are 3 boxes, and she can pick one to take with her. One box is filled with $100 bills, another box contains 5-cent coins, and the last box has both bills and coins. The boxes look exactly the same, and the girl can't touch any of them. The boxes have labels. Bills on the left one, coins in the middle one, and bills and coins on the right one. All the boxes are labeled wrong. Aiko can't look inside any of the boxes, but she can ask for one sample from any box. What should Aiko's strategy be to identify the box filled with bills only? Since all the boxes are labeled wrong, Aiko should ask for a sample from the bills and coins box. If there's a bill there, then that's the one she needs. She should simply take it. If there's a coin, then it's the box with coins. In that case, the remaining boxes contain bills and bills with coins. And since the labels are incorrect, the one with bills is the one marked with the label coins. The day that is tomorrow for the day after tomorrow is as far away from Wednesday as the day that is yesterday for the day before yesterday. So, what day is it today? The tomorrow for the day after tomorrow and the yesterday for the day before yesterday are exactly 3 days away from today. If they're equally far away from Wednesday, then today is Wednesday. Meadow loved animals and she decided to get some frogs. She talked to her mom about it and they made a decision. Only one of these 3 statements is correct. 1. Meadow got at least 1 frog. 2. Meadow got at least 5 frogs. 3. Meadow got fewer than 5 frogs. How many frogs did Meadow get? So, only one statement is correct. If it's the first one, then the other 2 must be wrong. In this case, she can't get 5 or more frogs, so it doesn't work. If the second statement is correct, then she has at least 5 frogs. But then the first statement is automatically correct too. Let's say the third statement is correct, so she got fewer than 5 frogs. Automatically, the second statement is wrong. But for the first statement to be wrong too, she should have got fewer than 1 frog. So it seems that, after talking to her mom, Meadow got 0 frogs. Maybe instead, her mom got her a dog, which would at least rhyme. Has a birthday party. Elsa goes to the bakery to purchase a cake for her. She's late, so she rushes over and bumps into a waiter. Elsa hits her head and forgets what cake Helga asked her to buy. She remembers just 3 things. It shouldn't have any green elements, the cake frosting shouldn't include more than 1 color, and it must have at least 1 berry. Can you help Elsa find the correct cake? Elsa should take the 4th cake. It's a chocolate cheesecake, so it doesn't have anything green. The glazing is brown and is decorated with cherries. A perfect match. Elsa buys the cake and leaves. The bakery is located inside the highest tower in town. Elsa enters the elevator to go down, but she hits the wrong button and finds herself on the roof. She decides to take some pictures with the iconic huge clock installed at the top of this tower. Oops! Elsa drops her phone from the roof. She decides to leave, but someone has already locked the door, and the elevator won't work. So she's trapped on the roof. Luckily, Elsa can still change the time of the clock. What time should Elsa set on the clock to make someone notice and rescue her? If she sets 5:05 on the clock, it'll look like an SOS signal. Finally, Elsa escapes from the tower and heads to the parking lot. Here's her car. Can you figure out the number of the place where it's parked? '87. Elsa arrives home. Helga shows her vacation photos sent by her new boyfriend, Kyle. In this case, you can see Kyle, his friend Bob, and a humanoid robot, Neo. Neo is standing next to Bob. A person wearing the yellow mask is not a man. What color is Kyle's mask? According to the terms, only the third guy can be Kyle, so his mask is blue. The birthday party is going well. It's almost midnight, so Elsa goes to the kitchen and adds candles on the birthday cake. Suddenly, she remembers that the only lighter in the house is upstairs in her room. She leaves the cake at the table for a minute. Then Elsa returns and sees the cake smashed all over the floor.
Oh, no.
She questions 3 suspects. Lauren says, "I was in the living room all night. I don't know who did it." Wendy says, I went outside to watch the full moon. It's so beautiful tonight. Kyle says, I was shooting a TikTok dance with Helga. Who ruined the cake? Wendy, take a look out the window. The moon is not full. Busted. The next morning, Helga wakes up earlier than Elsa and checks her feed. Breaking news: a legendary thief ran away from a nearby prison and now creeps around the town. He's a talented shapeshifter, so no one knows for sure what he might look like. Suddenly, Helga hears someone ringing on the door. She opens and faces two guys who introduce themselves. Bob is a gardener from a nearby park, and Peter is a garbage man. Both guys want to use a bathroom, so they ask Helga to let them in. But only one of them is safe to invite over. Can you guess who? Bob is wearing clothes with red stains, but he's also holding a brush, so he was probably just painting a fence. Let's take a closer look at Peter's facial hair. One mustache has come unglued. It's fake. So he must be the runaway criminal from the news. Old kingdom known as Piatra. One of the town's most precious symbols is a valuable jewel that is always displayed during the city's festivities. This year, during the last celebration, something tragic happened. The town's jewel went missing. The king was devastated and mad that such an ancient artifact had been stolen. He soon called the kingdom's official investigator to help figure out who had possibly stolen the jewel. The culprit would have to be proclaimed responsible for their theft in front of the entire kingdom. There were many people at the festivity, but the investigator narrowed the suspects down to 4 people. Amelia said she saw something strange after the bard's presentation. She saw that Benjamin had picked up the jewel and handed it to Carol. But Ben said he didn't go anywhere near the jewel because he had been working on one of the stalls during the fair. Carol said she did go near the jewel, but she had only admired it from up close. And Daniel said that he could swear seeing Carol carrying the jewel, but he didn't see her take it. Based on the testimonies, the investigator had no trouble figuring out who the culprit was. Can you figure it out as well? It was Carol. Almost everyone thought she was involved in the crime. And plus, if you zoom in on her bag, you'll see something pointing. Sure looks like a jewel, doesn't it? The town's only DVD rental shop suffered a robbery last night. The store's owner called the police station to report the crime. The detective almost couldn't believe what he was hearing. After all, why would someone steal a DVD when there are so many streaming channels nowadays? The detective asked to see the footage from the security camera and identified 3 main suspects. Sarah was a middle-aged woman. She says she still owned a DVD player and preferred to watch movies the old way, so she regularly rented from the store. Alex was a recently retired movie director, and one of his favorite pastimes was going to the store. He said he hadn't noticed anything strange the day before, except for a random teenager that walked inside. David was in his teens, and he spent hours in the shop by himself. He said he was doing research for school, but swears he didn't take anything. Can you tell who did it? It was David. The security footage caught him in the R-rated section of the store. He must have stolen the DVD, thinking the store owner wouldn't sell it to him. There's an old museum that only displays ancient Egyptian artifacts. One day, Susan, an anthropology student, went to the museum in order to study some of the art on display. She went into a room full of things, such as necklaces, bracelets, and earrings. She photographed every detail she thought was important for her research, when something caught her eye. Take a look at the image. Can you figure out what it was? Look at those earrings. They look completely fake. Plus, they have a tiny price tag attached to them. The original earrings were definitely missing. Susan reported the crime to the museum's manager. The manager immediately informed the museum security and opened an investigation. Susan was on the initial suspect list, but after checking the museum's security footage, she was let go. Museum security identified 3 main suspects: one of the museum's guards, one of the students from the museum's archaeology school, and a visitor. The visitor said he had only popped in for a quick visit. He said he had seen the earrings, but they looked pretty original to him. The security guard said he hadn't seen anything strange going the last few days. Everything was as it should be. And the students said they had studied the earring in a class, but they never got the chance to see it before it was stolen. Soon enough, museum security found the culprit. Can you tell who it was? It was the visitor. When security went to investigate the suspects, they never mentioned that the original earring had been exchanged by fake ones. The fact that he knew there was an original version means that he was the one that swapped them. Yikes. Maya was working on her latest artwork, which was commissioned by a high-end gallery in town. Suddenly, all the lights in her studio went out, and since it was nighttime, she was left completely in the dark. She heard footsteps approaching the studio door, and the next thing she knew, she was feeling dizzy. Maya passed out and woke up in a tiny room that had nothing other than a metallic door. She tried to open the door, but it was locked. That's when she noticed that beside the door, there was a little device where a red sign appeared asking for a password. Below the device, there was a piece of paper with the following hint: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It took a while for her to understand what this meant. She read the note aloud several times before she finally figured out what the password was. Can you guess what password she typed into the device? Here's how it works. Maya had to type 1 time the number 2, 3 times the number 4, 5 times the number 6, and 7 times the number 8. Reading it aloud was the key to solve this problem. Whew!
Hey, Brightsiders! Good news! I've got a new brain workout for you. Let's see how alert and attentive you are today. First, some warm-up. Look at this image attentively and try to spot a teddy bear. Here it is, under the table. Great job! Now, find a gift box. It was tough. Here it is, all the way up there. Can you find a coffee cup in this picture? Oh, wow! Who would have thought? I didn't notice it. And you? Look at this picture attentively. According to his message, this guy seems to be missing his girlfriend. But can you figure out if he's cheating? Yep, unfortunately he is. Look at the napkin. There's a lipstick print on it. He must be with another girl. How about this girl? In her message, she's complaining about to her boyfriend that her evening is lonely. But is it? Pay attention to the shower. There's some guy in there. Duh! Look at this image attentively. Can you find 3 words hiding here? Here they are: ring, love, and rose. Now look at this robber. He seems to be in a museum, examining priceless exhibits. Can you figure out which one he's going to steal? Look, he doesn't have a knife on him to cut the painting out of its frame. And the necklace is protected by an alarm. So most likely, the thief will steal the golden goblet. You're on a camping trip with your friends. While they're putting up a tent in the middle of the forest, you decide to wander around and pick up some firewood. Soon, you notice that you've got lost only an hour later. It's getting dark. Suddenly, you see a tiny house. You knock on the door and see a magician. After listening to your story, the magician offers his help. I can give you one superpower, but you need to choose carefully. What do you need more? Night vision, super hearing, or the ability to run lightning fast? What should you pick? Being able to run very fast won't help you because you don't know where to run. Night vision will be useless because trees will prevent you from seeing your friends. Pick super hearing. It'll help you hear your friends calling you. They must be looking for you. Laura had always dreamed of having a dog. As soon as she started living on her own, she got herself an extremely expensive puppy. Once, she had to go on a business trip. She asked Sarah, her housekeeper, Annabelle, her cook, and Phoebe, her sister, to look after the pet. But when Laura came back, her pooch was gone, and all three women claimed they didn't know what happened. Look at them attentively. Who is lying? It's the cook. See? It's the puppy's collar in her pocket. Once, a man came to a police station. He said that he had been robbed on his way to the bank. He was carrying a briefcase with a big sum of money when a man who was wearing a black mask and gloves attacked him. The robber snatched the briefcase and ran away. The police officer listened to the man and asked him about a fresh cut on his right cheek. The man replied that it was from a silver ring the criminal had been wearing. After these words, the policeman immediately knew the man was lying. How did he realize that? Are you as attentive as the police officer to figure it out? The man couldn't know about the ring on the robber's finger since he claimed that the latter had been wearing gloves. Kevin was a doctor from Boston. Once, he asked his boss to let him attend a medical conference in France. The boss let Kevin go, but asked him to send a photo report as soon as he got to Europe. Several days later, the man received an email from Kevin that said, "Hello from France. That's me right now." After looking at the photo, the boss realized Kevin had lied to him. How did he figure it out? In the photo, there's a clock on the wall that shows exactly the same time as the clock in the boss's office. If Kevin was in Paris, the clock would show a big time difference. One guy snuck into a fruit store and wanted to steal some fruit. He took 4 bananas, 2 apples, a watermelon, and a pineapple. But suddenly, someone grabbed his hand. It was the store owner. He said, "I'll let you go if you solve my riddle. A pineapple and an apple cost $18. 3 apples cost $15. Half a watermelon and 2 bananas cost $12. So, how much do 4 bananas, a watermelon, 2 apples, and a pineapple cost?" The guy thought for a minute and said something. After that, the store owner let him go. What answer did the guy give? The guy said that the fruit cost $47. If 3 apples are $15, then 1 apple is $5. Knowing this, we can figure out that the cost of the pineapple, $18 minus $5 equals $13. And if half a watermelon and 2 bananas are $12, then a whole watermelon and 4 bananas cost $24. And if we sum it all up, we'll get $47. Newlyweds left for their honeymoon and asked their neighbor to look after their house. When they returned, the wife found out that she had lost all her expensive jewelry because of a power failure. The woman had hidden her jewelry in an unusual but supposedly safe place. The house wasn't burgled. The neighbor was an honest person. The jewelry got lost by accident. What happened? The wife had hid her jewelry in the freezer, in a bag with frozen food. After the power failure, all the food went bad. The kind-hearted neighbor decided to help and threw away all the bad food, together with the jewelry. Oliver was on his way to another city. It was late evening, and at some moment, the man felt tired and sleepy. He immediately stopped at the nearest hotel and went inside. While the receptionist was looking for an available room, Oliver saw a breakfast flyer with mouth-watering eggs on it. "Excuse me, could I have 4 fried eggs right now?" The receptionist wasn't sure about that. "Our cook bought 8 eggs in the morning. He broke 3 and fried 3. So, were there enough eggs left for Oliver?" The cook broke 3 eggs and cooked them. It leaves us with 5 extra eggs, which should be more than enough for Oliver. The police arrived in response to Mrs. White's call. Someone had broken into her house and stolen a jewelry box. One of the police officers noticed that the lock hadn't been picked. He asked Mrs. White if she had given her key to anyone. She said, "I left the city for a few days and asked some of my neighbors to take care of my cats. I gave them my key." The police questioned the neighbors. Kate told them she had come every day to take care of the cats. Mark said he had come to water Mrs. White's plants. And Mary told the officers that she had come to borrow a blender from Mrs. White. She added that she often did it, and her neighbor knew about it. Can you figure out who was lying? Look at the cat's bowls. They're empty. And Kate also hasn't cleaned after Mrs. White's pets, so it doesn't look like she had been taking care of animals. Kate is lying. 2 planes took off at the same moment. They both had to fly across the Atlantic, but one plane departed from New York and headed for Paris, and the other left Paris and flew to New York. The first plane's speed was 650 miles per hour, and the other one was moving at a speed of 700 miles per hour. Which plane was closer to Paris when they met? They were both the same distance from Paris, since they met in the same place.
Take a look at this image for a second. Which prisoner do you think is rich? Let's see. It can't be the first guy since his food is partially rotten. It looks like the other inmates don't really like him, and he doesn't have a lot of power inside the prison. The second guy, while he looks super wealthy, his jewelry is actually fake. This leaves us with the last guy, and bingo, it's him! Look, he's got a laptop under his plate and a phone under his arm. He's the richest for sure. Susie was invited to take part in a pop-up riddle show. She needed to answer one question correctly to win $1,000. She was extremely nervous when the game show host asked her this question. How many numbers are on a clock? Can you help Susie figure out this one? The answer looks obvious, but it's not. You need to do some math. The correct answer is 15. It doesn't work if you simply stare at the clock and say there are 12 numbers. You see, the numbers 10, 11, and 12 are made up of smaller numerical numbers, so the correct way to count it would be in a clockwise fashion. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1, 0, 1, and 1. Phew! A local thief was running around playing tricks on some neighborhood stores. On a Saturday morning, he walked inside Mrs. Buchanan's shop and stole a $100 bill from the counter when she wasn't looking. He grabbed a shopping cart and filled it with $70 worth of goods. He paid for everything with the $100 bill he had stolen and even got $30 back as change. How much money did the store owner lose in all of this? The shop owner just lost $100. I know it sounds too simple, but here's the deal. In total, the store owner lost $70 worth of merchandise plus the $30 she gave as change. So yes, she lost $100. Maya was roaming through the multiverses when she ran into a gatekeeper guarding a green door. She said she needed to go through the door in order to access her original timeline, but the gatekeeper would only let through those who answered his riddle. He told her that some things can go through the green door while others cannot, and she needed to figure out what all of the things had in common. And then he tells her, "You can come through the door with a carton of eggs, but not with a box of donuts. You can pass through it with a gallon of skim milk, but not a quart of it. You can bring with you some bamboo, but not jade, orchids, philodendron, or ivy. Sadly, you can't come through with dogs and cats unless they're still puppies and kittens." Can you help Maya figure out the pattern in common with all of these things? Well, the key to solving this riddle can be found in all 4 of the words that make up the phrase green glass door, aka double letters. If something is spelled with double letters, it can go through the green glass door. If there are no double letters in its name, then it can't. Mark went to the farmer's market to do his weekly grocery shopping. He stopped by the egg stand, and the owner was feeling chatty, so he challenged Mark to guess the answer to a riddle. He told Mark,
If I had 4 eggs and a thief gave me 3, and my rooster laid 5 more, how many eggs do I have?
"Can you help Mark figure out the answer here?" I'll get one thing out of the way. It's not a simple math problem. It doesn't work if you just add everything up. But here's the first problem. Roosters don't lay eggs, so those eggs are out of the equation. And then if you read correctly, the man said, "If I had 4 eggs," which means that he had 0 eggs to begin with. So the correct answer is 3. The 3 eggs that the thief gave him. How can a chef use an 11-minute hourglass and a 7-minute hourglass to time vegetables that must be cooked for 15 minutes consequently? Turn over both hourglasses at the same time, but don't put any vegetables in just yet. When the 7-minute hourglass runs out, put in the vegetables immediately. There will be 4 minutes left on the 11-minute hourglass. When that runs out, just flip it back over for another 11 minutes. That gives you the 4 minutes plus the 11 minutes, which makes 15 minutes. A box contains 6 red balls, 4 green balls, and 2 blue balls. Without looking, what's the minimum number of balls you need to draw to ensure you have at least 2 balls of the same color? The answer is 4. Here's why. Because even if the worst case scenario happens, which is you'll draw 1 ball of each color, the next ball you'll pick will match one of the colors drawn previously. What comes next in this sequence? You see, each number in this sequence is generated by taking a square of a natural number, aka 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then adding that natural number itself. For example, the first number in the sequence is the square of 1 plus 1. The second is the square of 2 plus 2, and so on. According to that formula, the next number in this sequence will be 30. You have a set of scales and 8 balls. One of the balls is slightly heavier than the rest, but you don't know which one. You can use the scales only twice. How can you find the heavier ball? As step 1, you need to pick 6 balls and weigh them 3 on each side of the scale. If the balls balance each other, then weigh the remaining 2 balls, and the heavier one will tilt the balance on its side. But if the balls do not balance each other, then the heavier ball should be one of the 3 balls on the side the balance tilts. From these 3 balls, discard one of them and choose the other 2 to weigh. If the 2 balls balance each other, then the heavier one is the discarded 3rd ball. If not, the heavier one will tilt the balance on its side. Take a look at this table. According to it, what will 7 plus 3 make? So in these equations, you first subtract the second number from the first number. Then, you put the 2 numbers together without any mathematical operation. For example, in 4 plus 2 equals 26, you subtract 2 from 4, which is 2, and then you add 4 and 2 together, which is 6, and this gives you 26. So, for 7 plus 3, you subtract 3 from 7, which is 4, and then you add 7 and 3 together, which results in 410. A grandmother, 2 mothers, and 2 daughters went to a baseball game together and bought 1 ticket each. How many tickets did they buy in total? They bought 3 tickets. The grandmother is also a mother, and the mother is also a daughter. What can you put between a 7 and an 8 so that the result is greater than a 7 but less than an 8? A decimal, because even 7.8 is greater than 7 but less than 8. If 7 people meet each other and each person shakes hands only once with each other, how many handshakes will there be in total? The first person shakes the hand of 6 others. The second person shakes the hand of 5 remaining people. The third person shakes the hand of 4 remaining people, and so on. So, you can reach the correct answer by adding 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1 together, which will give you 21 handshakes. Jessica works at SeaWorld. When she tries to put each fish in its own aquarium, she has 1 fish too many. But if she puts 2 fish per aquarium, she has 1 aquarium too many. How many fish and how many aquariums does Jessica have? She has 3 aquariums and 4 fish. David is the owner of a clothing store, and he has come up with his own method of pricing items. According to it, a vest costs $20, socks cost $25, a tie costs $15, and a blouse costs $30. Using the same method, how much would a pair of underwear cost? The pricing method consists of charging $5 for each letter required to spell the item. So, a pair of underwear will cost $45. Let's check your results. If you got 0 to 6 questions right, maybe math equations are not your strong suit, but your talents might be lying elsewhere. Just find what that is to shine your light on the world. If you got 7 to 11 questions right, it shows that you have potential, but maybe you were just out of your element today. I suggest you try again when you feel like you can concentrate more. If you got 12 to 16 questions right, the Genius Club has saved you a spot. Just practice more and you'll get there in no time. If you got 16 to 20 questions right, my friend, you bow to no one. Betty has a sister, Amy. Gail is Betty's mother. Meanwhile, Dan is Gail's father and Samantha is Dan's mother. Can you figure out how Amy is related to Dan? Here's why. Amy is Betty's sister, and Betty is the daughter of Gail. Therefore, Amy is another daughter of Gail. We also know that Dan is Gail's father. Therefore, Dan is Amy's grandfather. Betty is going on a date, and she's a little late. Her boyfriend, Stan, is already waiting for her inside their favorite coffee shop. Can you find him? It's this guy on the right. He has a small gift box on the table. After the date, Betty takes a car sharing to go home. The car is parked at this point. Can you figure out the only point Betty can reach? If Betty takes this weird route, she can only reach point 3. One of the most popular mailing websites is facing a system error. That's why the passwords of some clients are changed. Betty writes a message to the company's representative. My password is altered. I'm not able to log in. The company replies, this time your password is distinct and it has 8 letters, out of which 2 are the same as in your previous password. Betty replies, thanks, now I can log in. Can you figure out Betty's old and new passwords? Her new password is distinct, and the old one is altered. Betty arrives at her favorite swimming pool and spots something really weird. Can you see it too? Someone swapped these guys' shadows. After swimming training, Betty goes to the public shower. There are other people in shower cubicles nearby. Can you spot who's unwanted here? This person on the left should probably use the men's bathroom. He has only one shampoo bottle, while ladies usually bring a bunch of skincare products. This is Greg. He's thinking of a 5-digit number. Its first and last digits are the same. Their summation is an even number. And their multiplication is an odd number which is equal to the 4th digit in Greg's imaginary number. If we subtract 5 from it, we'll get the 2nd digit. And if we divide this 2nd digit into half, we'll get the 3rd digit. What number is Greg thinking of? Ready to find out the answer? 34,293. Greg is a reporter for a travel magazine. Today, he enjoys his day off at a beach party. Suddenly, a famous travel blogger, Sergio, shows up at the dance floor. Greg grabs his phone and takes just one picture of Sergio before his battery runs out of power. The next day, he shows this photo at work and receives a promotion. Can you guess why? Take a look at Sergio's feet. It's a full moon and he's turning into a werewolf. That's why this picture is so exclusive. In the evening, Greg returns from work and goes to the bathroom to brush his teeth. Can you spot what's wrong in this picture? In reality, Greg is holding a tube of toothpaste in his left hand. But in the mirror reflection, he's got nothing in his hand. There is a tree growing in Greg's backyard. It doubles in height each year until it reaches its maximum height within 10 years. How many years did it take for a tree to reach half of its maximum height? Since we know that the height of the tree doubles every year, the correct answer is 9 years. Greg is having a family dinner. Meet his sisters, Bella and Stella. They were born to the same mother on the same day, at the same time, and in the same month and year. But yet, they're not twins. How come? Bella and Stella are two of a set of triplets. The next day, Greg returns to work and makes a report about two travel bloggers, Jake and Mike. They're hiking in the woods separately. Can you guess who has more chances to survive this night by just looking at these pictures? Can you see a cobra hiding in Mike's tent? Mosquito bites are usually not life-threatening, unlike snake venom. Therefore, Jake has more chances to survive. Greg has lost his phone in the office. He's been searching for his missing gadget for several hours. Suddenly, Greg gets an anonymous email saying the following. Can you guess what's written here? It's just written in reverse order. If you read it from right to left, the message turns into, "Your phone is hidden in the lobby of this building. Bring $300 and I will tell you where exactly." Greg goes to the lobby and spots something very odd about this place. Can you see it too? Look at the TV. They show different programs in reality and in the mirror. Greg is meeting his friend Kyle in their favorite restaurant, but unfortunately, they're both broke. So they only order free water and one chicken sandwich to share. Greg and Kyle have a great time together and take some pictures. But an hour later, Kyle gets very sick and faints. Doctors find out that he was poisoned. Let's take a look at the pictures that the guys took at the restaurant. Can you spot where the poison was? Kyle put pepper in his half of the sandwich, and Mike didn't, so the poison was in the pepper pot. Greg decides to take a walk home through a forest, and eventually he gets lost. There are 3 possible routes to the final destination. The first path leads through a village inhabited by vampires. The second path is full of toxic mold that can make any human lose their mind. And the third path leads through an enchanted forest that turns all human beings into trees. Which way should Greg choose? The first option is the safest. It's a sunny day and the vampires are probably sleeping. On the way, Greg meets a goblin. The creature offers him a deal.
If you crack my riddle, I'll let you go, but if not, I'll wake all the vampires up and you'll never leave this forest.
Greg agrees. Here's the riddle.
How can you drop a raw egg from a height onto a concrete floor without cracking it?
Ready to hear the correct answer? Concrete floors are very hard to crack. The next day, Greg is preparing an article about a safari park. He has these two options to illustrate his work. Can you spot 5 differences between them? Here they are. And now Greg's task is to find a model for their advertising campaign. He looks through pictures of these 4 models. Which lady is different from the others? This one, because she has shorter hair. Greg goes to the local food court and purchases some chicken nuggets for lunch. He puts his lunchbox on a table and leaves for a minute to wash his hands and get a fork. Then, Greg comes back and finds out that his lunch is missing. Greg interrogates 3 people nearby. Megan says,
I didn't even look at your food. It wouldn't fit me anyway. I'm on a vegan diet.
I was taking pictures of my croissant for social media. You can see it for yourself if you don't believe me. And Peter says,
Sir, I don't steal food. It's against my principles.
After hearing what they had to say, Greg knows for sure who's the thief. What about you? Megan said that Greg's food wasn't vegan, but how does she know that if she hasn't even looked at it? Busted! Greg wants to bring a sweet treat to his coworkers. He has 2 jars of chocolates labeled as V and C. If he moves one chocolate from the V jar to the C, the number of chocolates in the V jar will become twice the number of chocolates in the C jar. But if he moves one chocolate from jar C to V, the number of chocolates in both the jars will become equal. Can you figure out the number of chocolates in each jar respectively? The V jar has 5 chocolates, and jar C has 7. Greg returns to the office and discovers that someone broke his chair. He interrogates 3 coworkers. Will says, I was at a business meeting for the last 3 hours. I've just returned to my workplace and I didn't notice your chair. Fiona says, I took Peter's chair today because someone took mine, but I didn't approach your desk. And Peter says,
I spent the whole day at my workplace, but I didn't look around because I had very important work to do.
Who's lying? Peter is sitting on a chair with an inscription of his name. Therefore, Fiona's story is fake. Greg goes to an opening of a new fancy hotel. In the buffet area, he meets these 3 people. Each claims to be a billionaire, but 2 of them are lying. Can you spot the real billionaire? The first lady sneaked a gold fork from the table and hid it in her hair. If she's really rich, she doesn't need to steal cutlery. And the second guy is wearing shoes that are too small for him, so he probably borrowed them from someone else's feet. Therefore, only the third lady is a billionaire. Greg is planning to spend a night in the hotel. Only 3 rooms are available at the moment. A room on the 15th floor with a mind-blowing view, a fancy penthouse with a huge jacuzzi, and a standard double room on the 4th floor. Can you help Greg choose the best option? The first option doesn't exist because the hotel is only 10 stories. And there are cracks inside this jacuzzi. It's not safe to take a bath in this room. So Greg should pick the 3rd room. Susan found out that her favorite pop band was playing a private concert for VIP clients in a luxurious club. She decided to sneak inside through the back door. But, unfortunately, Susan came across a strict guard behind the door. He refused to let Susan inside without a password. But, luckily for her, there was a hint on the guard's t-shirt. The hint was to infinity plus BD. Susan deciphered the hint and was allowed to enter. Can you guess what the password was? It was to infinity and beyond. After the concert, Susan met up with her friend Bobby. Bobby was an expert in ghost activity. He invited Susan to go ghost hunting to a creepy old hotel. Of course, Bobby had state-of-the-art equipment. Once they arrived at the hotel, his equipment indicated there was strong paranormal activity going on. It looked like the ghost had a sense of humor and wanted to play hide-and-seek with them before it revealed itself. It led Bobby and Susan into a room with 4 doors. Each door had an inscription on it with some clues. The sign on door A said, "It's behind B or C." The sign on door B claimed, "It's behind A or D." Door C said, "It's in here." And door D stated, "The ghost isn't here." Bobby and Susan looked very confused until a note appeared next to their feet. It said, 3 of the inscriptions are false and 1 is true. Can you guess which door leads to the ghost? Let's see how this works. If the ghost was behind door A, then both statements B and D would be true. If it was behind door B, then both A and D would be true. If the ghost was behind door C, then A, C, and D would be all true. But if the ghost was behind door D, then the statements on all the doors would be false, except for that on door B. This fits the rules, so the ghost must be behind door D. The next morning, Bobby called Susan again, saying that he had a surprise. He had won 2 tickets to Susan's favorite theme park and asked her if she wanted to go. Before she answered, though, Bobby warned her that she had to crack a very difficult riddle. Only then would he give her a ticket. She agreed. For a school challenge, 100 students received a number between 1 and 100. Each student was instructed to go inside a classroom that had exactly 100 boxes randomly numbered from 1 to 100. Inside each box, there was a slip of paper with a random number between 1 and 100 on it. Now, each student needed to enter the classroom on their own and find the box that contained the slip of paper with their number on it. But in order to do so, each of them was only allowed to open a maximum of 50 boxes. They were instructed to leave the room exactly as they found it, and they weren't allowed to communicate with other students once they'd left the room. If all of the students managed to find their numbers inside the boxes, they would each get $100. But if one of them wasn't able to find their number, none of them would be able to win the prize. Bobby asked Susan if she knew the best strategy for all of the students to find their numbers and win the prize. After a few hours, Susan called Bobby with the answer. She managed to figure out the riddle. Can you guess what she answered? This riddle isn't obvious, but let's see how it works. If each student searched for their numbers randomly, they would each have a 50% chance of finding the box with their number inside. This is because there were 100 boxes and they were allowed to look inside 50 of them. However, the probability of all of them finding their own number following this random strategy is absurdly small. So, to increase their chances of collectively finding their numbers, they would need a better approach. The students could use something called the loop strategy. After entering the classroom, they should go directly toward the box that has their number on top of it. The number inside probably won't be their number, but that's okay. They should check the number inside the box and go look for the box with that same number on top of it, and so on and so forth. They should keep doing this until they find the paper with their number on it. This strategy means there's more than a 30% chance of the students finding their numbers and winning the prize. It's not a huge probability, but hey, at least they'll have fun trying to figure it out. One afternoon, Susan found her father, Frank, in the living room. Frank was a private investigator and he had just received a message revealing the address of the town's most dangerous criminal, Dirty Jack. He decided to go check the area, even though he didn't know what the criminal looked like. The address turned out to be an old warehouse. When he busted inside, he found 4 people sitting at a table. They were a carpenter, a truck driver, a mechanic, and a firefighter. Without any hesitation, Frank arrested the firefighter. How did he know it was the criminal? The firefighter was the only man in the room. The rest of the people were women. Bobby and Susan decided to go grab a cup of coffee. But when their orders arrived, Bobby's drink came with a fly in it. He called the waiter and asked him to change his cup. The waiter brought him another cup of coffee, but 2 seconds later, Bobby called the waiter again and said, "Hey, that's the same cup." How did he know? Because Bobby had already put sugar in his coffee. And when he tasted the new drink, it already had sugar in it. Susan and her family went on vacation to their country house, but unfortunately, it was raining heavily. It kept raining for 13 days. When it rained in the morning, the afternoon was beautiful and clear. And when it rained in the afternoon, the next day was blessed with a clear, sunny morning. Overall, Susan's family experienced 11 nice mornings and 12 nice afternoons. Can you find out the total number of days they spent in the country house? The total number is 18 days. Here's how you can figure it out. Let's call clear afternoons X, clear mornings Y, and periods of time with no rain O. This equation represents the number of days with rain, X plus Y equals 13. And here are the days with clear mornings, Y plus O equals 11. And this equation represents the days with clear afternoons, X plus O equals 12. If we solve these three equations, we'll learn that X equals 7, Y equals 6, and O equals 5. So the total number of days is 18. Bobby started his morning by jogging in the park near his house. When he returned, he got to know some very unpleasant news. Someone had stolen his car. He questioned 3 of his neighbors. Henry said, "I've been playing video games for the past 12 hours and haven't left my basement." Rosie said, "I'm a gardener. I've been planting daisies in the public area all morning, and I think I saw a suspicious man who opened the car using a knife." Jack said, "I saw your car when I went out for groceries, but when I returned home, it was gone." Who's lying? Rosie. She said she planted daisies, but look, there are only rose bushes in this area. One day, Susan found a box on her desk with a note that read, "What can run but never walks, has a mouth but never speaks, has a head but never weeps, has a bed but never sleeps." Can you decipher this riddle? The correct answer is a river. Welcome to the food festival. Here's Alice. She sells cold drinks. Alice allows her customers to buy 1 bottle of drink in exchange for 5 empty bottles. Phil brings her 77 empty bottles that he collected at yesterday's party. How many bottles do you think he can get in exchange for those 77 empty bottles? Phil can get a total of 19 new bottles. First, he returns 75 empty bottles to Alice and gets 15 bottles. At this point, he'll still remain with 2 empty bottles. When the new 15 bottles of drinks get empty, he can return them as well. This way, he will get 3 more bottles, and after finishing them, he'll still have a chance to get 1 more bottle because he has 2 bottles in stock. Bobby is selling fancy ice cream at a huge discount. That's why he has a rule, only 1 ice cream per customer. Bobby has only 2 flavors left, vanilla for €1 and cherry for €2. Lisa comes over and gives Bobby €2. Without asking any questions, Bobby gives her cherry ice cream. Next, Amy gives him €2, but this time, Bobby asks, cherry, or vanilla? Why? Lisa bought a couple of €1 coins. This indicates that she wanted to buy cherry flavor. If she needed vanilla ice cream, she would have paid just €1. Meanwhile, Amy put only one single €2 coin. That's why Bobby couldn't guess how many ice creams she won. Jerry is selling sandwiches. There are 4 available flavors, but only one of them is safe to eat. Can you spot which one? There's a cute little worm inside the first sandwich. The third one has a Lego detail inside its topping. And there are too many flies around the fourth sandwich, so it's probably rotten. But the second sandwich looks pretty good. The police arrested these 3 ladies suspected of stealing money at the festival. Take a look at them very attentively. Can you spot the one who intends to escape? The second lady is holding a file under her headscarf. She's probably the one who plans to escape. The food festival hosts a legendary pastry competition every year. Its 14th and 16th champions have the same father, and their mother is also the same. Both champions were born on the same day and time, but they are not twins. None of them were adopted, and both are females. How is that possible? They are the same person. And now let's see if you can make a good food critic. Can you spot anything weird about these cakes? This one is mirrored. How about these delicious cakes? Can you see any odd details? This cake lacks one cherry. Bill and Wendy are having their first date at the food festival. They buy delicious fresh papaya, and they take a seat in the food court to enjoy it. The papaya tastes sweet and delicious. Each of them eats 2 pieces. 10 minutes later, Bill gets sick. Wendy takes him to the hospital. Doctors claim that the papaya was poisoned. Bill and Wendy ate the same food and also drank the same drinks. How is it possible that Wendy feels well? The poison was in the seeds. Wendy threw them away, while Bill ate them all. Alex is observing a sitting lady, but he can't sit at her place if she stands up and leaves. Where is she sitting? The lady is sitting on his lap. Let's move on to the pizza shop. Can you solve this tricky sequence? Every segment in the new circle moves 90 degrees clockwise, so the third answer is correct. There are 3 odd things about this coffee shop. Can you spot them? The barista has 2 left hands. The reflection in this mirror shows everything upside down. And finally, this customer doesn't have a shadow. Miss White is the key investor of the festival. In the evening, one of the guests finds her unconscious in the backyard of the festival location. Detective Jones arrives at the crime scene and questions 5 of Miss White's co-workers: Bobby, James, Sally, Sam, and Sebastian. He also looks around and finds 3 notes. The first note is in the storeroom. The second one is in the art lounge, and the third in the makeup room. All the notes have a similar message. The clues are where you find the notes. Can you help Detective Jones solve this mystery? Sam is the criminal. Let's take a look at the rooms. If we take only the first letter of each room, we'll get S, A, and M. Arrange the letters and we'll have the name Sam. Diana buys a chocolate cake and leaves it on the table in the food court to go buy some drinks. Then she comes back and sees that the cake is gone. She questions 3 people standing nearby. Henry says, "I didn't do it. I'm on a sugar-free diet." Miss Green replies, "I'm allergic, young lady. I haven't been eating chocolate for 30 years now." And Kelly says, "I'm sorry, but when I came over, this table was empty, so I occupied it. I didn't see any cakes." Who's lying? Miss Green lied about her allergy. She's drinking hot chocolate at this very moment. This evening, Mike plans to go to the movies with his friends, Mia, Dan, and Crystal. He buys a huge box of popcorn at the festival. Then, Mike puts it on the table and tells everyone,
The film is about to start in 15 minutes. I have the time to go to the bathroom. Wait here and don't eat the popcorn until the movie starts.
In a couple of minutes, Mike comes back and sees that the popcorn box is half empty. Mia says, "It was Crystal." Dan replies, "She's lying." And Crystal says, "Dan is lying." Can you figure out who ate the popcorn? Dan. He's the only one who has popcorn crumbs on his cheek. Meanwhile, Jennifer is drinking her tea alone on the opposite side of the food court. Suddenly, she gets a business call and goes outside to answer, leaving her glass on the table. A minute later, Jennifer comes back and gets very upset. Someone drank all the tea from her glass. There are 3 people standing next to the table. Can you figure out who's guilty? This woman in the middle, she left a mark of her purple lipstick on the cup. Can you spot a left-handed person among these 5 people? It's the barista. She's holding a tray with her right hand in a static position. Meanwhile, she's serving the drinks with her left hand, so she's most likely the left-handed person. Marta is making a fruit drink. The recipe comprises 90% of liquid and 10% of solid fruit mix. The total weight of the mixture is 20 pounds. After boiling the drink for a while, Marta notices that the liquid starts to evaporate. Now, the liquid comprises just 50% of the total weight. What's the weight of the drink now? Initially, the liquid occupied 90% of the overall mix, which is 18 pounds. And the weight of the solid was 2 pounds. Earlier, the solid contributed 10%, and now it's contributing 50% of the overall weight, but its weight is still 2 pounds. Therefore, since the liquid is now contributing 50%, its weight should also be 2 pounds. So the overall weight of Marta's fruit drink is 4 pounds. Diana, Frank, and Quentin cook pasta. They start boiling water in 3 identical pots at the same time, but Frank's water gets boiled first. Can you figure out why? He's the only one who closed the lid. And finally, let's take a look inside the food warehouse. Do you see anything weird? The cabbage has eyes. When Laura got there, she saw 3 buildings. She understood she wouldn't have enough time to search all of them. She needed to choose the one where Louisa was kept, and fast. Can you help Laura? Look at the dark blue construction attentively. Next to the window, there's the word help scratched with some sharp object. After looking around the building, Laura found 3 keys. She needed to figure out which one of them fit the lock. Hurry up! Right, this is the key. The door opened, and Laura saw a woman sitting in the far corner. It was Louisa. She helped the woman to her feet, and they stumbled away. Soon, they noticed 3 taxis. Which car should they choose? The first one doesn't have a license plate. That's suspicious. And the driver of the second taxi is the very woman who took Louisa away a week ago. She's wearing a fake mustache and a baseball cap, pretending to be a man. Laura and Louisa should choose the third taxi. But luck wasn't on their side that evening. The car broke down before they could get to Louisa's husband. They had to walk. There were 3 paths in front of them. One led to a swamp. Toxic gases were floating all over the surface of the water. The second road was filled with poisonous plants. And over the third path, the air was swarming with agitated wasps. Which path should Laura and Louisa opt for? The second. At least the plants can't move, so if the women are careful, they'll be able to avoid touching them. Finally, they arrived at Louisa's house. Once the man in black saw his wife, he hugged her and turned to Laura. "I'm so sorry for using such methods, but I was getting desperate. I can't tell you why, but I had to keep her disappearance under wraps. That's why I chose to involve you. Thank you. I want to give something to you, but to get it, you'll need to crack this riddle." An electronics store owner came to work one day and saw that his safe was open. His money was nowhere to be found. He called the police. When a detective arrived, the store owner explained that the key to his safe was on the same keychain as the keys from his truck. 2 of his employees, Andrew and Ryan, used the truck and had access to all the keys, but the men had always returned them. The detective questioned the drivers. "Someone broke into your boss's safe yesterday. What do you know about this incident?" Andrew said, "I didn't copy the key. I wouldn't even know which one to copy." And Ryan said, "I've been working here for 3 months and have never entered the boss's office yet." The detective understood who the thief was right away. Can you figure it out? Andrew stole the money. The detective didn't say how the criminal had opened the safe. Then how did Andrew know it? Laura got the answer right. The man handed her Cinnabon and a brand new smartphone, but it was protected by a password. When Laura tried to unlock the phone, that's what she saw. Write backward all the numbers. That sounded like a tough task. Luckily, Laura was very smart. She didn't need much time to write the correct answer and unblock the gadget. So what was the password? SREBMUNEHTLLA. That's all the numbers written backwards. She couldn't believe her eyes. She'd been dreaming of this all her life, but to get it, she'd have to set off on a very unusual journey.
Well, have you been looking for a chance to put on your detective hat? Well, here you go. A new portion of tricky riddles to sharpen your mind.
Yeah.
Melissa met her guests who came to her birthday party. Catherine came before Bob, Aaron after Raynon. Bob arrived before Raynon, and Timothy came after Aaron. So, which guest arrived last? Timothy was the last one to come. Now let's say you have 2 jugs. One of them holds exactly 3 gallons of water and the other holds 5 gallons. With the help of just these 2 jugs and a fire hose, how can you measure out exactly 4 gallons of water? Fill the 5-gallon jug to the top. Then pour it into the 3-gallon jug until it's full. You now have 2 gallons of water remaining in the 5-gallon jug. Pour out the water from the 3-gallon jug and then pour the 2 gallons from the 5-gallon jug into the 3-gallon one. Finally, fill the 5-gallon jug to the top and pour it into the 3-gallon jug until it's full. There was only enough space left for 1 more gallon in the 3-gallon jug, so you now have exactly 4 gallons in the 5-gallon jug. Look at this image attentively and try to find a mistake. There's no river on the other side of the bridge. Where does it disappear? Now, look at these men very closely. Can you figure out which of them is a fake doctor? The doctor on the left may be wearing casual clothes, but he has his badge on, which probably means he was called to work urgently and didn't have time to change. He's also holding a stethoscope. The doctor in the middle is holding a spoon. But even though it looks suspicious, he has just given a child patient some cough syrup. You can also see a badge on his uniform. As for the man on the right, he's not a doctor. There's no badge on his uniform. And if you examine him more attentively, you'll notice the police uniform under his white coat. He's most likely a police officer undercover. Christy poured herself a full cup of tea and drank half of it. Then she filled the cup with milk. Then she drank half of the drink again. Then she refilled it with milk again and drank the rest of it. Can you figure out if Christy drank more tea or more milk? She drank the same amount of tea and milk. Look, Christy ended up drinking all her tea since the cup was eventually empty. Christy refilled the milk 2 times, and every time it was half a cup of milk, totally a full cup of milk. Deceptor, a famous magician, announced that he could throw a ping-pong ball in such a way that it would go a short distance, come to a complete stop, and go in the opposite direction. He also clarified that he wouldn't bounce the ball off of any object or tie anything to it, and indeed, he managed to perform the trick. How did he do it? He threw the ball straight up into the air. Can you name 4 days of the week that start with the letter T? These days are Tuesday, Thursday, today, and tomorrow. Now, listen up. All statements are true except one. 3 days ago was not Friday. The day after tomorrow will be Saturday. Tomorrow is not Wednesday. In 5 days, it's a day off. Yesterday was not Saturday. So the question is, what day of the week is today? Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or Saturday? It's Thursday. Let's see how we can figure it out. 3 days ago was not Friday. If this statement is true, then today is not Monday. The day after tomorrow will be Saturday. If it's true, then today is Thursday. Tomorrow is not Wednesday. Then today is not Tuesday. It's a day off in 5 days. If this statement was true, today would be Monday or Tuesday. But in this case, the statement contradicts the first and third ones. It must be false. Yesterday was not Saturday. It means that today is not Sunday. Based on all this, we can conclude that today is Thursday. There were 2 plastic jugs filled with water. Can you put all the water into one barrel without using any dividers and still tell which water comes from which jug? You can do it by freezing the water in one or both jugs and then cutting the plastic away, leaving only the ice. After that, you can put the chunks of ice into the barrel. This way, you'll be able to tell which water comes from which jug. A farmer in Florida owns a beautiful pear tree. He supplies fruit to a nearby grocery store. One day, the store owner calls the farmer to check how much fruit is available for him to buy. The farmer knows that the main trunk has 24 branches. Each branch has 12 boughs, and each bough has 6 twigs. Since each twig bears one piece of fruit, how many plums will the farmer be able to sell? Unfortunately, none. At least not from this tree. A pear tree doesn't produce plums. You have 5 jars with pills. Each pill weighs 10 grams, except for contaminated pills contained in one jar. There, each pill weighs 9 grams. You have a scale, but can you tell which jar has the contaminated pills after making just one measurement? To find the contaminated pills, you should follow the following steps. Take out 1 pill from jar number 1, 2 pills from jar number 2, 3 pills from jar number 3, 4 pills from jar number 4, and 5 pills from jar number 5. Put all these 15 pills on the scale. The correct weight should be 150 grams. But since one of the jars has contaminated pills, the weight will definitely be less than 150 grams. If the weight is 149 grams, then jar number 1 has the contaminated pills, because there is only one pill like that. If the weight is 148 grams, then the contaminated pills are in jar number 2. If the weight is 147 grams, the contaminated pills are in jar number 3, and so on. Many years ago, one guy was captured by an evil witch who kept him in her house. There was a cellar door in the house, and the witch warned the guy not to open it because he was not ready to see what was behind it. Can you guess what was on the other side of the door that the witch didn't want the guy to see? The guy was actually locked in the cellar, and on the other side of the door was the rest of the house and the outside world. The witch just didn't want the guy to escape. One day, a boss told his employees, "I can fight and beat any man who works here." A new employee, a tall ex-prize fighter, decided to challenge the boss. Interestingly, the boss won the bet, even though he didn't defeat the man. What did the boss do? Not to lose face, he fired the new employee on the spot. This way, when he defeated the boss, he wasn't working in the company anymore. Marty and Jill wanted to copy 3 60-minute tapes. They have 2 tape recorders that will dub the tapes for them, so they can do 2 at a time. It takes 30 minutes for each side to complete. Therefore, in 1 hour, 2 tapes will be completed, and in another hour, the third will be done. Jill says all 3 tapes can be finished in 90 minutes. Can you figure out how it is possible? Let's call the tapes 1, 2, and 3 with sides A and B. In the first 30 minutes, the guys will work with 1A and 2A. In the second 30 minutes, they will record 1B and 3A. Now, tape 1 is completed. Finally, in the last half hour, they will do tape 2B and 3B. You just entered a riddle-solving competition. The game show host shows you the first riddle you have to answer. Take a look at the image. Who do you think will be able to make it all the way across the line? Let's face it, it's the man on the left. Even though it looks like he's having a hard time carrying such heavy things, the weight is evenly distributed between his two hands, so he'll probably make it through without any problem. For your next challenge, the game show host shows you a picture of sinking boats. Which boat do you think will sink first? The first boat has 2 holes in it, but somehow it has way less water inside. The second boat only has 1 hole, but look at the amount of water that's gotten inside. It's definitely the second boat that's going to sink first. Since you passed the first 2 rounds, the third one gets a bit harder. Ken was riding on his rollerblades when he fell down and hurt his head. He woke up in the hospital, only to find that 3 Barbies were waiting for him. Take a look at the image. Can you figure out which Barbie is actually Ken's girlfriend? This is a tricky one. It can't be the third Barbie, because the real Barbie would never wink at Ken. It's usually him that does the flirty things. It's also not the second Barbie, because she would never put on makeup in front of him. So this leaves us with the first Barbie, who must be his girlfriend. The Finn is a famous hostel in Spain. It's especially famous for its fun showers. But hey, something doesn't look right in this image. Take a look and try to guess what it is. The woman on the right is squeezing a ketchup bottle instead of a shampoo bottle. That's definitely weird, huh? For the final rounds, the host picked out a few written riddles for you. The first one is, I speak without a mouth and hear without ears. Am I a microphone, a phone, or an echo? What would you say? The answer is echo, echo, echo. I'm not alive, but I can grow. I don't have lungs, but I need air. What am I? A tree, fire, or clouds? The correct answer is fire. Way to go if you chose that. Now, Carol was invited to a Halloween party in an abandoned house. Her friends asked if she was up for a challenge, and she said yes. Soon enough, she was locked inside a room. In this room, there was 1 door and 3 light switches next to it. Behind the door was an empty closet with nothing but a light bulb. Her task was to figure out which switch controls the light bulb inside the closet. She could flip the switches in whatever way she wanted, but once she opened the door, she couldn't touch the switches anymore. After some minutes of thinking, she was able to get it right. How did Carol do it? Okay, let's go step by step. She flipped switch number 1 and then waited a few minutes. She flipped it back to off and then immediately flipped switch number 2. Then she opened the door and checked the light. The bulb was off, so she discovered that it wasn't switch number 2 that controlled the light. So she decided to touch the bulb to test if it was hot or cold. If the bulb had been cold, That would have meant that switch number 3 controlled it. But the bulb was hot, so that meant that switch number 1 controlled 1. Way to go, Carol! To get back to the party, Carol had to solve another riddle. There were 2 hourglasses in front of her. One hourglass measures 7 minutes, and the other one measures 4 minutes. She needed to time 9 minutes using both hourglasses. How could she do it? First, she turned both hourglasses at the same time. By the time the 4-minute glass finished, there were still 3 minutes left on the other one. She flipped the 4-minute glass again. When the 7-minute glass was empty, there was 1 minute left on the other glass. And once the 4-minute glass emptied again, there was 1 minute's worth of sand at the bottom half of the 7-minute timer. She flipped it over again, so there was 1 minute worth of sand on the top of the glass. And when the 7-minute timer finally emptied again, 9 minutes elapsed in total. Anna sat down to watch her favorite TV show. She made some popcorn, turned on the TV, and nestled comfortably to binge-watch an entire season. Her cat Pepper sat down next to her, but after 5 minutes of screen time, Anna suddenly passed out. Look at the image. Can you guess what happened there? Anna's cat Pepper got scared with the loud thump that came from the TV. It jumped on top of Anna and it scared the life out of her. That's why she passed out. Take a look at this scene. Who do you think has the best chance at survival? The 2 guys look pretty stuck in there, but the woman on the right might have a chance. The rope looks a bit loose around her body. She could try to shake it off and then use her free hands to untie her ankles. Bella landed in New York with a very ambitious career goal. But first thing she needed to do after arriving in the city was to find her apartment. There were many options to get from the airport to her apartment, but Bella decided to save money and go by bus. She had to purchase a ticket for $10, but a handsome guy popped out of nowhere and offered her a better deal. He said his plans had changed and he didn't need his bus ticket anymore. He offered to sell it to her for $6. Bella agreed and gave him the money, but it turned out to be a big mistake. Why? Take a look at the current date on the screen of the vending machine. And now check the date on the ticket. The ticket the man sold Bella expired over a month ago. Finally, Bella managed to arrive in Manhattan and find her apartment. She was sharing a house with 3 other women. Bella introduced herself to them and went to settle in her room. She left her belongings on her bed and went to take a shower. When she stepped out of the shower, Bella noticed that her laptop was missing. She got furious and decided to interrogate all of her new roommates. Sarah said she had gone out to get a cup of coffee. She even told Bella to ask the doorman of their building since he had seen her leave. Kelly said that she had taken an afternoon nap with her headphones on. She said she hadn't heard or seen anything strange going on inside the apartment. Shannon said that she had gone to the building's rooftop to take some pictures of the city since she was a professional photographer. Can you tell who's lying here? It's Shannon. If you notice the sign on the lobby, the building strictly prohibits people from accessing the rooftop. Alfred is a supermodel and he just landed his dream job. The biggest magazine in the country invited him to be on the cover of their latest issue. On the day of the photo shoot, he arrived early in the studio. After finishing with hair and makeup, he looked in the mirror and screamed, "Oh no!" His skin was all red. It looked like he was having some serious allergic rash. He called all the assistants he had seen earlier in the day to interrogate them. Amy, the photographer's assistant, said she had been told Alfred was allergic to peanuts, so she made sure to only buy safe snacks. Bo, the makeup artist, said he hadn't touched Alfred's food. He said that right after he finished doing his job, he left for a coffee break. Mary, the cleaning lady, said that she knew how sensitive models could be, so that's why she had only used organic and hypoallergenic products to clean his dressing room. Alfred immediately knew who had contributed to his rash. Can you figure it out too? It was definitely Bo. Sure, he didn't have access to Alfred's food, but he was the only one who touched Alfred's face that day. Liv was recording a dance routine for her social media page when a huge portal opened up and swallowed her whole. The next thing she knew, she was stuck inside a big cavern. Out of the blue, a great genie appeared. He told her that she would only be allowed to leave if she figured a way out by herself. As soon as he disappeared, she saw that there were 3 buttons on the wall. There was a red, a yellow, and a green button. On the floor, there was a note that read TDUPT, RNOR, EHEB, and SST. She clicked one of the buttons and managed to open a door on the wall. Can you guess which button she chose? The red button. She unscrambled the words on the note and discovered it read, "Press the red button." As soon as she pressed the button, Liv was transported into a virtual reality world. An artificial intelligence greeted her welcome and showed her 3 doors. The AI told her that only one door would lead to her freedom. It told her that behind the first door, there were hungry Pac-Men waiting for someone to walk inside. Behind the second door, there were cursed rollerblades. Once you put them on, you'd never be able to take them off. Plus, they had a will of their own and ended up taking you to some pretty dark places. Behind the last door, there were flying fuzzy creatures with laser eyes that would burn anything they came into contact with. Which door do you think Liv should use to escape? Well, she should pick the second door, because she wouldn't be obligated to put the pair of rollerblades on. She could walk past them and straight to her freedom. During the time she was gone, Liv noticed that someone had stolen her laptop. It had all her social media content on it. She figured it must have been one of her roommates, so she decided to take a look around the house and try to find it. Look at these images. The first room belongs to Jill, the second one belongs to Rachel, and the third one belongs to Amy. Can you figure out who stole Liv's laptop? If you look closely, Rachel's cat is sleeping on top of something that really looks like a laptop. It must have been her.
Nellie is approaching a picturesque field. She's carrying a package. If she doesn't manage to open it before reaching the field, she won't survive. Can you guess what's in the package? Nellie is skydiving. There's a parachute in her package. After a safe landing, Nellie decides to take a walk in a sunflower field. Can you help her spot 3 odd things about this area? This straw man is winking. This sunflower has teeth. And there are 2 suns in the sky. Nellie walks too far and gets lost in the woods. She wanders around for a while and meets 4 guys sitting on one big tree. Can you help her rank them in order of foolishness? The 4th person is cutting the branch where he sits. So, he's the silliest. The first person is sitting on the branch that will soon be cut by the second guy. So the first person is the second most foolish. The second person doesn't see that he's about to fall too, so he's the third. And finally, the third guy. He's a bad person, but definitely not a stupid one. Nellie moves on and finds a highway. 3 people offer to give her a ride to the nearest town. Can you help Nellie choose the safest driver? Take a look at this guy's car. Its tires are flat, and there's a puddle of engine oil spilled out of the car. Probably not the safest choice. This beautiful lady and her car are both translucent because they're ghosts. As for this gloomy trucker, he looks pretty reliable. Nellie enters a local coffee shop and meets 2 ladies. Both ladies tell her that they are daughters of a famous billionaire. Can you guess who's lying? The lady on the right is a liar. The logo on her t-shirt is fake. Therefore, she's not rich. Nellie doesn't have any money to buy food. The coffee shop manager feels sorry for her and offers Nellie a free lunch. But first, she has to solve his tricky riddle. Nellie agrees. Here's the task.
People have stepped on me, but not many. I never stay full for long. I have a dark side. What am I?
Can you help Nellie win her free food? The correct answer is the moon. Nellie is eating and looking through the pictures hanging on the wall. Suddenly, she sees something weird. Can you spot any odd details too? This person appears in both pictures, looking young and pretty. But the time distance between these 2 photos is 100 years. Nellie enters a flower shop and sees the owner putting bouquets in big vases. If he puts 1 bouquet per vase, he will end up with 1 extra bouquet. And if he puts 2 bouquets per vase, he will end up with 1 extra vase. How many vases and bouquets does he have? He has 3 vases and 4 bouquets. The flower shop owner offers Nellie a job. He has just received a delivery. There are 3 boxes labeled red roses, white roses, and red and white roses. Each box is labeled incorrectly. Nellie has just 1 chance to pick up a flower from any box and then label the boxes correctly. Can you help her accomplish this task? Nellie should take a flower from the box labeled as red and white roses. Since they're labeled incorrectly, this box should contain either red roses only or white roses only. Let's suppose that Nellie finds the red roses. Now she can label this box correctly. We know that the white box cannot have white roses. Therefore, now Nellie can label the remaining 2 boxes correctly. After earning some cash, Nellie decides to book a room in the local hotel to get some rest. The manager offers her to choose from 3 empty rooms. Can you help Nellie pick the best option? There are cracks in the window glass in the first room. Very unsafe. And there's a zombie hiding under the bed in the third room. So, Nellie should choose the second one. Nellie locks herself in the room. She opens the window and stands nearby, breathing fresh air. Suddenly, she throws something out of the window. Nellie passes out very soon after doing that. That's a mystery because she's perfectly healthy and nobody did anything to her because the door is locked. Can you find any logical explanation for what happened here? Nellie decided to throw a boomerang out of the window. The boomerang went to the maximum distance and returned back straight to her head. After a while, Nellie wakes up with a headache. She goes to the local shop to buy some aspirin. She spots 3 odd things about this place. Can you see them too? There's corn on the shelf along with napkins and toilet paper. The announcement offers an 800% discount. That's too good to be true. And finally, the shopkeeper is wearing 2 pairs of glasses. Suddenly, the shopkeeper begins to yell, "Someone stole my money!" And he locks the customers inside the shop and calls the police. They arrive and question 4 suspects. Maya says, "I came here to buy water for my 12 o'clock yoga class. I'm 20 minutes late because of you." Bob says, "What's the point of stealing cash? Everyone knows that people use cards nowadays." Lily says, "This shopkeeper is a bad person. He deserved that." And Nellie replies, "Sorry, I was focusing on my own purchase. I didn't see anything suspicious." After hearing that the officers had arrested one person, can you guess who? Maya, take a look at the clock on the wall. It's only 10 a.m. She's not late, therefore she's lying. Nellie is walking down the street. She sees a cozy garage sale organized by Miss Green. The fixed price for any item is only $1. Amy buys an old dress. Phil takes this beautiful antique vase, and Vivienne purchases a shabby vintage suitcase. Nellie comes over to Miss Green and says,
Oh,
"Madam, you've just sold an expensive thing for a song."
what?
What does she mean? Can you guess? Vivian lifts this suitcase quite easily, so it's probably empty. And besides, it has holes in the bottom. Therefore, it can't be precious. This vase isn't antique. It has a sticker from a dollar store. Although this dress is dirty and torn, it has a large, expensive brooch pinned to it, so many gemstones can't cost just $1. Nellie asks Miss Green if she can use her bathroom. Miss Green says,
Sure, it's at the end of the corridor.
Nellie is walking down the corridor and confuses the doors. Nellie ends up in this messy kitchen. The door won't open. Can you help Nellie find a key? It's in the teapot. And Miss Green enters the kitchen and tells Nellie,
I'm a witch, young lady, and I'm gonna give you a gift if you manage to solve my riddle.
Oh, yes.
Nellie agrees. Here's the task.
It starts with T, it ends with T, and it's full of tea. What is it?
Can you solve this mystery? The correct answer is a teapot again. Miss Green brings Nellie to her dusty basement and says,
One of these 3 doors leads to a magical world, and the other 2 are fake. You have only one attempt to choose the correct door. Good luck. Oh, yeah.
Can you help Nellie out? She should choose the 3rd door. Take a look at the floor. Dusty footprints lead to the 3rd door only, which means that doors 1 and 2 are fake. Nellie opens the 3rd door and enters an enchanted forest. There are 4 ways to cross it, but all 4 passages are pretty dangerous. A hungry dragon is waiting for her on the first route. A massive fire is burning all over the 2nd path. And the 3rd path is basically a windowless tunnel. And the 4th passage is full of scorpions and snakes. Can you help Nellie choose the right path? She should pick the 3rd way. The tunnel doesn't have windows. But who said it doesn't have an exit? Nellie walks the tunnel and finds herself in a beautiful castle. The guard says, This castle is yours if you manage to crack my riddle. I can fill a room, but I take up no space. What am I? Can you help Nellie win the castle? The correct answer is light.
Here we go. You just arrived home from a long day of work and tuned into the riddle show on your TV. Take a look at this scene. Who do you think has the best chance at survival? The two guys look pretty stuck in there, but the woman on the right might have a chance. The rope looks a bit loose around her body. She could try to shake it off and then use her free hands to untie her ankles. Which one of these definitely isn't human? It's the guy on the left. If you look closely, you'll see that the skin around his eyes is green. Take a look at these three guys. Which one of them is going on a date tonight? It must be the guy in the middle. He's holding a chocolate box in the shape of a heart. It's wrapped with a bow and everything. Alice, Beth, Cece, and Diana are standing in line to get a new video game. Alice is standing between Beth and Cece. Cece is in front of two people, and Diana is standing in front of her. Can you say the exact order in which the girls are standing? Let's see, there are four of them. If Cece is standing in front of two people, and Diana is in front of her, then Diana is the first in line. Cece is the second one. Then Alice is standing between Beth and Cece. So the third person is Alice, and the last one is Beth. There are 10 students in the class. 6 of them learn French. Oui, oui. 7 of the students in the class learn Spanish. Olé! If every student learns at least one foreign language, how many students learn both French and Spanish? This is pretty simple math. 6 plus 7 equals 13. If there are only 10 students in the class, that means that 3 students are learning both French and Spanish. A police officer was following a robber around the city. Suddenly, the criminal rushed toward a hospital and disappeared. When the police officer entered the building, he saw 3 people. One of them must be the robber, who had dressed up pretending to be a doctor. Can you tell who the criminal is? It's the girl on the left. Look at her shoes. They're dirty. She probably didn't have time to clean or change them. Theo was getting ready for a job interview when the lights in his apartment went off. He was in a rush and didn't have time to wait for the lights to come back on. He was almost ready. He only needed to put on his socks and boots. Theo had socks of 3 different colors: black, white, and gray. He didn't care what color his socks would be, but he needed 2 socks of the same color. How many socks should Theo take to make sure there would be at least 1 matching pair? He just needs 4 socks. Even if the first 3 socks are different colors, the 4th sock will probably be either black, white, or gray, matching one of the others. Devin takes showers every day, but on even days of the month, he takes a long bath. During 1 year's time, how many baths does he take? Well, let's see. Except for February, all months have 30 or 31 days. In each month, there are usually 15 even days. For starters, we should multiply 15 by 11, which gives us 165 days. If we count February as having 14 even days, then the total number of baths Devin takes in a year is 179.
She needed to find a quicker path to work. She put her office's address on Google Maps and it showed her 3 options. Each path had a different obstacle that would take her some time to get across. For example, while going around a tree takes 3 seconds, going around a bush takes 2 seconds. And if she crosses a stop sign, she has to stop for 1 second. Take a look at the image. Can you help Emma choose the fastest track? The fastest track is the one on the right. That's the track with the least obstacles. It's lunchtime and Emma goes to the fridge to grab the sandwich she brought from home. But when she opens the fridge, she notices that her food is missing. Someone probably ate her burrito. She decides to conduct a quick investigation to see who stole her lunch. Her boss ordered some expensive takeout from a new restaurant in town. Joe, her colleague, is highly allergic to gluten, so he ate something he brought from home as well. Helen, the supervisor, ate a delicious salad bowl from the cafeteria. Take a look at the picture. Can you guess who stole Emma's lunch? It was Joe. His hands are all swollen. He probably ate the burrito even though he's allergic to gluten. Yikes! Since she moved to San Francisco, Emma has been living with 2 other girls in a tiny apartment. She's got the feeling that one of the girls doesn't really like her. One day when she got home from work, there were 3 apples on her desk and a small note. The note said the apples were a housewarming gift, but it didn't say from whom. Take a look at the picture. Are any of these apples safe to eat? The one that has the little worm in it is the safest one. Who knows? Maybe the other ones are poisoned, or worse. Emma's boss asked her to pick up his car from the car shop and drive it to their office. She wanted to impress him, so she said yes. She picked up the car and drove it through the steep hills of San Francisco before arriving at the office building. Once she got there, she saw the reception was on fire. Right next to the double glass doors, there was a fire hydrant she could use to fight the fire. Which door should Emma open first? The car door. Duh! Today, Emma's task at work was to help Helen, her supervisor, hire a new social media manager. Together, they analyzed 3 different resumes. The first one was from a woman named Angela. She is 23 years old and doesn't have a lot of company experience, but she's eager to learn. Thomas is 28 years old and has 7 years of work experience. He says he's been working for Google since the company was founded. And then there's Bianca, who's 20 years old and has been making viral TikTok stories for over 2 years. Who should they hire? They should probably hire Angela. Thomas lied in his resume because Google was founded in 1998, and Bianca can't be an expert at making TikTok stories since TikTok doesn't have this option to begin with. Helen asked Emma to run an important errand for her. Her only request was for Emma to be fast. The thing is, Emma needed to cross town to get to the place Helen asked her to go. So, she decided to cross the big park that connected the town. Somewhere along the way, Emma got lost and found herself at the intersection of 3 pathways. At the entrance of the first pathway, there was a huge pond. At the entrance of the second path, there was a pile of really toxic waste. And blocking the entrance of the last pond, there was a hungry-looking bear. Which path should Emma choose? She should go for the first one. Sure, she'll be a bit wet, but at least she won't be eaten by a bear. At the entrance of Emma's new apartment, someone installed a coded machine to open the door, but didn't give any hints. The buttons are shaped like animals. There's a butterfly, a tiger, a bear, and a dolphin. Do you have any idea which button Emma should press? She should press the bear. Look inside the building through the glass doors. The emblem of the building is a bear.